Welcome to another episode of the Playoffs of Life show with your host, Adrian Hatcher.
And your co-host, Candacie Thomas.
Today we are doing a ANC review of the new hit TV show that came out on HBO Max, Love&Death.
And it stars Candy, who is a quiet housewife who overnight decides to have an affair with her neighbor. But the relationship soon spirals out of control when her lover's wife is found dead, and all suspicion falls on her. Love&Death.
And in today's review, we're going to give pretty much a brief breakdown of how we felt about going into the show, what we thought about the show in general, and then give our review at the end. If you want to support the podcast, please like and support and leave a voice message on Anchor or leave a like and subscribe on YouTube. But with that being said, I'll let Candacie get into what she thought of the show initially going into it.
Going into it, I just thought this was going to be another little cute story. Like, didn't know it was a true story. Didn't know nothing about Candy. Because this is based off of actual true events.
Yes.
So,
which is crazy in itself.
Right. So, Candy, I loved her initially. I love the fact that, she was just like, I'm going to have this affair. And I'm going to be very political about it and buy the books about it. And it was just random. She just smelled his scent and was like, I want this man.
Spoiler the review. Sorry, I gotta remember to add spoilers in these reviews. We
Absolutely.
do not do reviews where we leave out stuff. We are too sporadic to think about leaving stuff out. We want to let you know exactly how we feel. So
right, but when she smelled that man and she was like, "Yeah, that's a man right there."
Ain't that crazy though? That's how it started.
And he wasn't even a handsome man.
His character was not like. He wasn't very.
Not
handsome.
That we're calling anybody ugly or anything.
Right,
We're just he's not an outstanding looker, is what we're saying.
Right, and it's not like he was one of those big personality guys. He was a very quiet,
bland personality.
Individual.
Right.
He just go to work, come home, say hey to his wife, kid, and go back to work. He was just an average guy.
Right. So yeah, Candy initiates this affair. She feels like her marriage she's also married. Her husband doesn't give her enough attention and time, so she decided, yeah, I'm having an affair with this man right here.
Not only does she decide to have this affair, she decides that while she's doing this affair, she's gonna do this affair right. We're gonna come up with rules. Let's be very honest about how this affair even started. Initially, we see a very composed, a very put together, a very at-home, church-abiding, love her kids, love her husband type of wife. And it's very apparent that anytime we dive into Candy's mental space, that she wants more. She thinks that there's got to be more to this. She's looking for something new and exciting. And just this random moment with, I believe Alan Gore was the character's name. Just this random moment with this man leads her down this crazy amount of experiences that I don't even think she saw coming. And it brings such an exciting element to the show, especially during the second half.
Right. It was amazing to see. And you said she was very meticulous about the affair. She made this man lunch, and it was all very cute and not romantic in a sense, but she didn't come to play around. And then when they did finally have the affair, got to the hotel room. I hope I'm not skipping around too much. Is that?
It's okay.
Okay. She did finally have the affair, and they had that first love making scene, and it was just boring. I mean, I don't know. It was. I guess the time, but it was just a quick little 2-minute him on top, and they had been working up, talking about this affair for months, and you just thought that it was going to be ripping each other's clothes off when it finally got to it, but it's probably very realistic in the way they portrayed it, especially for the time.
The time, for sure. The time, they still wore the lingerie as they were having sex type of thing.
Right, they didn't take off their clothes. I think this is set. I think this happened in the 80s.
Was it 80s? Yeah, the time frame was very distinct about how it went about the story going through. As we go into the story with Candy,
it was 78.
It was 78.
Yeah,
78 is when they okay. Like Candacie said, it was based off a true story. Really loved Candy's character. Of course, she's the main character. We see a lot of stuff from her perspective. Candacie also pointed out when we initially were seeing the show that this is a lot of what Candy said happened. So you take it with a grain of salt because most likely this could have went a whole different way. There's certain things that could have went differently, but we'll never know. This is a true story that's been dramatized for TV, and boy is it dramatized. The character Death is amazing. My personal favorite is the lawyer. Loved his character.
He was a good character.
I
liked Betty.
Betty was cool.
Betty had some issues. Oof. She was played by, if you ever seen American Horror Story, she was the mom in season 1.
Was her. You're right. I did not realize that was the actor.
Oh, was she the mom?
She was the nurse.
She was in
American Horror Story. She plays the
two-headed twin.
When she goes to the church, she's the nun. She's the nun that gets turned in, that gets possessed by a demon. You remember?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She's very versatile with her acting. Very versatile. And in this show, she has a lot of scenes where they actually play on mental health. She struggles a lot with insecurities.
Yeah, she was the nurse.
She was a nurse, right? Yeah. She played a lot of just diversity. In this show, she struggles with insecurity, with being a housewife, with being a mom. It just seems like in her own mental space, she's trying to have her own self-identity. And as we go about the show, you actually realize and hear what people actually think about her before and after her death. And to be honest, like when we first start the show, we know that she is the wife of Alan Gore, but other than that, it's pointed out that they're having some extreme issues in their marriage, and the only way that these issues can be resolved is if they both work on it. But Alan, he's just this guy who just
doesn't express his emotions well, doesn't really talk a lot, and he agrees to have the affair with Candy instead of working on his marriage.
Right. And then when it gets to a point where he actually wants to work on his marriage, it's kind of like too little too late, if you think about it.
Right.
So yeah, they have an affair. The affair is very, very different. It's not just based on sex. They talk about they needed to express their emotions. They needed to have someone to talk to, someone to share who they are.
And it's not a love match either. They just both needed somebody.
Right.
And it was good. Until it lasted from December, I think 78 to October 79. So not a year, but almost a year.
And they agreed to separate if they ever felt like they were getting too emotional, or they ever felt like it was going to interfere with them wanting to reconnect with their fellow spouses.
Right. And initially, Candy wanted to end it, but Alan was like, no. But then Alan was ready to end it, and Candy couldn't tell him nothing to stop it, which I felt like was like a typical man. When he want to end it, it's over. But when she want to end it, it's not over. But so it ends, and they both work on their marriages. Mm-hmm. Things are seemingly going well until Candy's husband sees the letter from Alan Gore. The letters, like not love letters, but letters, romantic letters from Alan Gore, and he finds out about the affair. He's upset, but forgives Candy, which I was very surprised about. Were you surprised how cool he was about it?
Probably the one scene where I thought his character had the most development.
Right.
Because he realized his fault. He immediately, it's not like he blamed her. He immediately knew that he had not been enough for his wife, and that he had not leveled up to what she needed him to be.
Right.
So as the affair was exposed, there was no blame. It was no blame on Candy. It was more of, what can I do to make this work? And I really respected that.
Right. Because he had been when we say like he hadn't been doing what he's supposed to do, we're not talking about financially. Like he just wasn't he wasn't pleasing her. He wasn't having, the sex with her.
You have to say it like
Like, she would have tried to initiate romantic moments with him, and he would just be like, "Nah, I'm watching TV."
Boy, watching the Three Stooges
right.
and thinking this is entertaining. Like, I'm talking about the good laugh.
Meanwhile, she like offering to like get on her knees and do the guac 3000, and he said like, "Nah." Who turns down the guac 3000 for free?
That's not even during the time period. That's like you just don't understand what's going on in your marriage for real.
Right.
Boy, so the marriage, like Candacie said, if it ends, they start working on their marriages. One thing they point out, they go to this thing called Marriage Encounter. I wanted to research it because a lot of people kept thinking it was a cult, and it sounds like it was just a program of people trying to just actually work on their marriage. But I don't know.
It could have been a cult disguised as a program. Who knows?
Or like a little menage a trois thing going on later down the road. I don't know. Anyway, they both marriages, they go to Marriage Encounter and they reconnect, and a certain amount of time passes. And let's be frank now, even though Alan ended it, Candy struggled. Like, she spent a good episode really struggling with trying to not have to go to Alan for what he was giving her before. Like, she had to kind of wean off of it, and her husband honestly had to find out about it for her to really get off of Alan. Because she really wanted that emotional connection. She was going over to their house. She was finding ways that they can still talk. She was still trying to get his attention, and it actually that side of Candy leads Betty's character to think about, is this woman having an affair with my husband?
Right. So Betty has her suspicions. That Gores and Allens, which is Candy, and that's their last names. Candy's last name is Val. No.
What's the last names?
Was it?
I don't remember.
Montgomery.
If their last names,
Montgomery.
I
don't know why I don't know where I got the Gores from.
Okay, the Gore, Alan Gore and Betty Gore. You just had to.
I said Alan's first name and last name. Anyway, Candy, the Montgomerys and the Gores are main friends. Like he said, they have their children going back and forth. Candy comes to retrieve a bathing suit from the Gores' home. Didn't call first. Mistake number one: always call before you pull up at somebody's house. All right, don't show up in them with a doorbell.
The wife is known to have mental issues.
Right. And you had an affair, but she don't know that she don't know that she know. She goes to get the bathing suit, and Candy and Betty confronts her like, "You sleeping with my husband?"
And she says, "No."
And then she was like, "Were you sleeping with my husband?"
She was like,
yeah.
At one point in time, yes. I like how she put it. Like, she give it like a half truth, thinking it was gonna be
a half truth. It is true. They were sleeping together, but they're not anymore.
Yeah, she was like,
they hadn't been. But they hadn't been sleeping together for months at that point. It's not like it just ended a week ago. It had been months. And they have seen each other since then. They agreed, to keep it professional, and they've been keeping it professional.
So let's get to the meat and potatoes. So what happens? Betty decides, oh, okay, my suspicions are correct. Let me go full-blown psycho. Now, let's give a grain of salt. This is from Candy's perspective. It is based on a true story, but from them trying to add drama to it, it seems Betty went to the garage. She grabs her husband's axe. She tells Candy, she's like, I don't want you to be around my man. I don't want to see you no more. I need you to not be part of our lives ever again. The last thing I need you to do is just make sure that my daughter has a good time at your house. But other than that, we done. Candy's trying to be like, okay, that's cool. Let me just get her stuff and I'll leave. Betty basically does not like what Candy is trying to tell her. Candy tries to get all self-righteous, tell her she's sorry for what she did. Betty don't want to hear that. She don't want to hear that at all. She decides, I'm going to attack Candy, so they get into a struggle. During the struggle, they fight. They go back and forth. Candy seems to not really want to hurt her, but she decides to hurt Betty in order to get away. Betty still doesn't quit. Betty attempts to kill her. So Candy does what she has to do. She gets that axe. She puts it down with a couple hits, but decides a couple hits isn't good enough.
She snaps and waxes a woman 41 times with the axe.
41.
which is the problem, because even if it's self-defense, 41 times is crazy.
41. Can you do something? Oh, that's
21.
I'm sorry.
Candy leaves the house like nothing happened. She showers in their house, which is crazy.
Had a whole good shower too.
Left the baby. Betty's got this newborn baby in the house. Left the baby crying. Went to Target to get a Father's Day card. Went back to the church, and went about her day. And then eventually, she got a call from Alan saying that Betty's been shot, which is clearly not true.
How did that even? I didn't understand that part.
It was just so much blood. They imagined it was a gunshot instead of an axe.
I'm like, bruh. Because they made it very clear, like, her whole face was disfigured by, like, a axe. And I'm like, y'all think a gunshot would have did that? But I understand
maybe like a shotgun.
A shotgun? Okay. I can understand a shotgun. So the main event of this whole tragedy happens of Love and Death, where we are battling with the Candy claiming self-defense for murdering.
Well, first she claimed innocent for months. Yes, it wasn't until the day of the trial
she said
that she's like, that her lawyer's like, Candy killed this woman, but it was self-defense.
So we start going from we see the backstory that led to it. We have the ultimate event, and then we finally get into the trial of that century where Candy is fighting for her life. She assigns a lawyer that she knows from church, who's a good friend, to work her case. Her friend does know the truth in terms of Candy was the one who did kill Betty, and he decides to start helping her in order to exonerate her.
And let it be known that he is not a criminal defense lawyer. He's just like a regular lawyer. He's never tried a murder case before, and the judge hated him for like pretending to be like a big shot in his courtroom. Several times, I think he gave him 2, like during the case of the period of the trial, gave him 2 contempt in court and gave him time served in jail. So just thought that was crazy, and it seemed like Candy had a lot of things stacked up against her. The media, the judge,
They make it seem like they had never seen something this vile, this horrible. This was like such a grotesque murder that there is no way Candy couldn't have known that she was whacking this woman 41 times. But as the case and the trial goes on, we see different elements from different characters. The lawyer is going into his bag. I'm talking about his bag, trying to find every route to make Candy look innocent. He gets a psychiatrist to go up there and talk about her mental state, about how her mama told her to shh one time, and how that eventually led to her.
Wild.
I'm saying, led to her having this whole mental instability, and like how that made her snap, and she got all this rage out in these 41 whacks. And regardless of what we believe and what the people believed at that time, we can only go by what the facts were presented and how the case ultimately went out. And Candy was eventually exonerated for the crime. She basically claimed self-defense, and she was found not guilty based off of the evidence and the jury. The jury decided to make her not guilty.
Now, she was tried in today's time. Would she been found innocent? I don't know.
They probably would have said reason of insanity. Now that they probably would have definitely.
That's still guilty.
Is it?
When you get reason of insanity,
I think they put you in like a mental house.
Yeah, but that's still like you're serving time.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Candy went.
You're not free to like
she didn't
do
have
what
to
you
serve
want.
No jail time at all.
Right. She's just living her life. Right. And I'm not gonna pass judgment on the case. It's already been done. It's a true event. It happened.
Well, as a jury member, what would have been your verdict?
Oh, she guilty.
You would say she guilty?
She guilty.
No matter what, all that drama, all that talk, all that emotional pulling that the lawyers did, you still would have said guilty?
Yeah.
Okay. I would have said not guilty. I would agree with them. I would have made that point. Because
I mean, all the jurors don't have to agree.
I thought they did. I thought that all the jurors, even if someone has a different opinion, you all have to come to the same verdict.
I know, but like even if you just change your mind so that you can go home, that doesn't mean like
I got you.
that they all like agreed.
They all came to this verdict.
If I was the only one saying not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, I'd probably eventually change my mind and be like, I was saying guilty, 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 and everybody else was saying not guilty. I would change my mind, but my heart, I know a bit guilty.
You guilty, man.
41 times because of a shush.
Well, it was more than the shush. They tried to. The lawyer was like, "It's not just a shush.
It's a shush."
She was holding this rage since childhood. She was traumatized.
Okay, but that doesn't mean just because you're traumatized you can go out and murder and whack somebody 41 times.
But the event is what led to the trauma being exposed and the rage coming out.
But that doesn't make it okay.
I didn't say it was okay. This is just what the psychiatrist was saying on the stand.
I know, but like none of that stuff makes it okay. If that's the case, Jeffrey Dahmer is justified because of the reason of insanity.
That's way past insanity.
So is hitting a woman with 41 times with an axe. It's insane.
Yeah. Well,
it's insane.
I think there's a lot of
and then going about your life like nothing happened.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yes. Candy in the months preceding after the death. Was it months or weeks?
And then washing yourself off, lying about it. Like you just would have said self-defense from the beginning. It would have been so easy for you to get off. But you chose to I ain't do that shit.
Right. Even when the cops confronted her, she was like, I can't believe this is so unfair.
You don't have act. That man called you, was like, can you keep my daughter for a few more days? Because Betty's been murdered. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
You killed her.
So as Love and Death concludes, Betty eventually leaves. She leaves her small little town that she's cultivated with life, and she moves to
Georgia.
Apparently, better and greener pastures. But as the true story unfolds, it seems like her and her husband did eventually divorce. I'm pretty sure
Alan Gore remarried twice. Oof. His children that he had with Betty left the house because apparently they were abusive. Alan Gore and his second wife were abusive.
Crazy.
And the lawyer who represented Betty killed himself.
Bang, bang. Did not see that coming. The only reference they made to that is there was a conversation him and his wife had in the car where she was like, this case will rot and eat at you. And that's the only reason
I think she made me feel like Betty, Candy was not innocent.
You think
looking back on it in 2020, like there was some guilt.
But it could have been more than just that case.
It could have been more than just that case, but that case was a big part of it. That's what they were alluding to.
Yeah.
And he definitely felt some guilt.
Okay.
Like he wanted to do a good job on the case because he wanted the notoriety.
Right.
But it's like fame and money versus what you know is right. It's basically what he was going over.
Is being a lawyer one of the toughest jobs you can have when it comes to like moral decisions? No. Because you're defending a person regardless of if they're guilty or not. Regardless of if they're guilty or not, your job is to get them less time.
Well, you don't have to, unless you work for the law. You can refuse to take the case. Take the case.
But if you accept it, like knowing what the person has done.
But I don't think
because you got to make money now. It can't always be about good or bad.
But you're saying, assuming that like they know that it's for a fact that this person did this or that.
Well, they have to be truthful with their lawyers.
They do have to be truthful, but like that doesn't mean they always are. They could be saying I'm innocent the whole way to them, and then you gotta defend them, and you're as the lawyer supposed to believe them.
Okay.
I don't think it's the hardest job morally. It is tough, but I don't think it's the hardest one.
Okay.
I think jobs where you have physical control over somebody, another person, like. And you decide like their state of being and you got to choose to do the right thing are super hard. You know, I don't know, things like that. If that makes sense. But it is a tough job. I feel like it can be hard on you emotionally over the years, but it's not even one of the jobs with the highest suicide rates. So that's why I say I don't think it is the hardest job morally.
Is there a job with a high suicide rate?
Veterinarians.
No way, for real?
They have a very high suicide rate.
That's very crazy.
Dentists as well.
I would not have assumed that. I definitely wouldn't have assumed a dentist. Like,
well, veterinarians, they say because like they outlive all their patients. Also, they got a lot of debt.
Okay.
They have like medical doctor, lawyer debt, but they make way less.
Yeah. How do you explain a dentist though?
I don't know. I never looked. I looked into the the veterinarian stuff because I wanted to be a veterinarian at one point, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Other than that, for this review, I guess we can go ahead and give our ratings based off the show. I guess I'll go ahead. For me, I would give Love and Death a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
it was a good show. It wasn't anything different than a lot of other shows I've seen. The shows where basically some crazy stuff happens and then there's a trial. Probably my favorite scene was the trial. I really liked how the lawyers played on the emotional aspects, how they broke things down, how they implied certain things. I really like, in a crazy way, I really like the way they manipulated the jury.
I like the fact that the judge was the villain. I don't know if he actually was in real life.
I don't know either. But they seem to point out that maybe they saw something in the record that the judge was being biased to certain things. The judge was not going to let this case go anywhere else but here. The judge was not going to let them say whatever they wanted.
If the judge could have chose instead of the jury, Candy would be locked up for the rest of her life.
Facts.
Let's just say that.
Facts. The judge was like, this woman is, even the judge in general was somebody who seemed like he wanted full control of everything going on in there. And I've seen judges like that. Even when I did jury duty, they are been in this position so long. It's like this is their space. You can't tell them nothing. They know what's supposed to go down in here. So I give it a 7 out of 10. I think if I were to rewatch it, I would probably have the same reaction. I think it's just a very good limited type of series. Very quick watch. If you got the time, you could really binge it in a day, and I think you'd be satisfied with everything that went down.
Yeah, I agree. 7 out of 10. I mean, it's a reenactment of a true event. It's not like you can only alter the story too much. Right. Like you can't really say nothing about writing because like this is what actually really happened. And the actors they had were all like top actors.
Oh yeah. And, Breaking Bad was the Alan Gore. He played one of the characters in Breaking Bad, a younger. He looked way different.
Right. Yeah. And then they had, American Horror Story. Right. And then they had Scarlett Johansson. No, sorry.
Her sister though.
They had not her sister. Mary-Kate and Ashley's sister.
You went to say the Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch, yes. They had the Scarlet Witch from Marvel.
Which one you know her real name?
I do know her real name. Her last name obviously is Olsen. Elizabeth Olsen.
Okay.
Is her name.
Gotcha.
She obviously slayed
her role.
So
she really had such a great. She really brought out that emotion.
Right.
Her scenes were very riveting. You needed to know what she was saying. Like I said, the trial was so good for me because you got to see every aspect of the case, and I would definitely say you should go watch the show. HBO really has some good hits. Honestly,
HBO take a while to bring out their shows, but when they come out, they usually hit. Except for the Scooby-Doo.
I don't think we ever going to do a review on it because I never finished it.
Won't be positive.
It wouldn't be positive. Actually, and then going through, like when you circle through some of the shows in there that we haven't seen, I'm actually interested in seeing some stuff and maybe doing a review on some random HBO shows.
We got to do a review when House of Dragon come back around.
Yes, one thing I do want to do, if you're
episode by episode,
we could actually do a recap. Even though it's been a minute, I would like to do a House of Dragon season 1 recap.
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Okay, I'm thinking like that. I would rewatch it just so we could be more up to date about it, and then man, we are excited. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for following us, following the Playoff of Life podcast. This is A&C Reviews. Like we said, we appreciate you watching. Follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Anchor, Spotify. Please leave a like and subscribe on YouTube if you like what you hear. And if you want more content, just keep rocking with us, guys. We love doing this. We love just going off the walls with our reviews and just talking about how we feel about them. So,
right. So let us know what you want to hear us review next, and we're out of here.
All right. Peace, y'all. That'll be good.